And kicking off the card, low-level fight I don't think anyone cares about. Jamie Lynn Horth and Vanessa Demopoulos. Getting a breeze through this one. We got Jamie Lynn Horth is a minus 600 favorite, so I would say betting on Demopoulos doesn't hurt, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to lose, so why get fucked, man? I mean, just past this fight, Jamie Lynn Horth, she's way bigger. I mean, Demopoulos usually fights at 115, and she's taking this fight on short notice. I feel like she's just maybe trying to fight out her UFC contract here. She's taking some losses. She's a little older, so who knows if she's going to get retained with another loss, but Vanessa's only chance here is to get a submission or crazy overhand, but she doesn't have, like, she has some power for 115, but even in that weight division, she's not knocking people out. And even though she has good jiu-jitsu, she doesn't have the ability to take you down. And I think that Jamie's going to be way stronger. She's going to be better in the clinch. She's going to have the length. She's going to be able to pick Vanessa off as she tries to close the distance with straights, but Jamie's just not proven to be the best fighter in the UFC. I mean, her last fight, she got taken down at will pretty much by Miranda. Had a really close fight with Petrovic. And I feel like if Vanessa can get in some positions on the ground, I mean, maybe she could get a submission and a huge upset. But at the end of the day, I think Horth is the clear favorite for a reason. She's bigger. She's probably better everywhere outside of jiu-jitsu, and she's going to get the victory here, I would say. So give me Jamie Lynn Horth via decision. And this next fight, we got Phil Rowe versus Ange Loosa. And you look at Phil Rowe, he's a fighter with a crazy frame for the weight. He's a grappler primarily, but doesn't have wrestling, so normally he's forced to strike unless fighters shoot in on him. It seemed like more recently he tried to push the wrestling offensively, but he hasn't been that effective. The only fight Rowe really had any success wrestling was versus Neil Magny, and Magny, historically, especially recently, has had very bad takedown defense, so Rowe had a good game plan in my opinion. He had some good control time during that fight, but dropped a split decision. But Rowe is slow on the feet, but he stays calm, he takes damage early, waits for fighters to slow down, and when they stand in front of him, he lets go with the power, crosses, overhands, and he has power. He can one-shot opponents. He isn't good versus pressure and combinations. If you get in his face, you let your hands go, you can overwhelm Rowe. And Rowe also is all boxing, so you can kick his legs, you can kick him in general and not get kicks back. His last fight, I felt he looked better than he had in a long time. He lost, but his boxing looks sharper, and hopefully he brings that into this fight. But it's been a while since the last time we've seen him. And Rowe is a good jiu-jitsu player. You could tell he loves grappling. He tests himself on the regional scene, not on the regional scene, on the jiu-jitsu scene against the best grapplers. He's been in there with Gordon Ryan, with Craig Jones, and things like that. In MMA, Rowe tends to use jiu-jitsu through sweeping fighters when they take him down. He'll reverse takedowns and get on top and then show off his grappling there. He hasn't hit a submission yet in UFC, but he's dangerous when he could take the back. He will attack chokes, and that did cost him in his last fight. He was on top in a 1-1 fight in round 3, but he lost position trying to go for the back, and it seemed like he was way too tired to get off bottom. And he does slow down in round 3, but Rowe is hard to finish. He only has one knockout loss, and he's won all of his UFC fights via knockout. So when he goes out there and wins, he's usually putting you away with strikes. But Ange Loosa, big muscled up fighter with good pressure boxing, good wrestling. Early on, he's probably going to have big moments. He's going to pressure, and he's good at getting his head off center line and coming back with combinations. I think that's going to be effective, especially going to the body and using that to come over the top. Nice uppercuts. His power is good, and he's high volume. He's also never been knocked out, so I trust his chin, and I think that he could take a couple shots if need be, even though you don't want to take too much from Phil Rowe. But Loosa has an explosive double leg, and he's aggressive with ground and pound. I think if he closes the distance and throws hands and hooks in combination, he could land and maybe finish Rowe. But he can't blow his wad early. If he's having success, he can't just unload because Rowe is going to try to stay in there. And he isn't an elite cardio guy, Phil Rowe, but if you're gas, he can come back and finish you. But Loosa's going to have the wrestling edge, and I think he can have success controlling Rowe against the cage. I think that he can use his punches to get Rowe to raise his guard and then shoot. And he doesn't want to end on bottom or in a choke position, but he's trained with Gilbert Burns for years, so I think that he should at least have the knowledge to defend Rowe's attacks off of his back. And Loosa, I don't think he's going to finish Rowe from top position. He only has one submission win, but I do think he can hold him down. He got takedowns and he avoided being submitted against Gabriel Bonfim. He was extremely dangerous on the ground. And he was competitive for 3 rounds with Bonfim, and even competitive with other guys like Jack Della Maddalena in a losing effort. So I think this is a good matchup for Loosa. I see him being able to pressure, use his boxing and speed to land on the feet and open up takedowns and hit those as well. I see him having the better conditioning. I think he's higher volume. He's never been knocked out, so he's durable. And both these guys have been losing lately. Neither of them have fought in over a year. But Loosa is 3 years younger, and I think that's going to be a factor as well. So give me Ange Loosa to win this fight in dominating fashion via decision. And up next, we got Ricky Simón versus Cameron Smotherman. Good fight here. Cam Smotherman stepping up on very short notice, so props to him. He's been known to do this. He did this in Fury FC before, where he stepped up on really short notice and has gotten victories. But this is a different beast taking on Ricky Simón, someone that's in the top 15, someone that's coming off a brutal knockout victory in his last fight. And I just feel like this is biting off too much that he could chew for Cameron Smotherman. Ricky Simón, he is hittable, and Smotherman does have a nice jab. And if he could find his range and, piece Ricky apart or pull him into something really heavy, we've seen Smotherman get some nasty knockouts. And we've seen Smotherman come back from behind and finish guys after getting wrestled and losing a lot of majority of a fight. So I don't know if he's going to have that in him on short notice here, but Ricky Simón has to respect his power and know that Cameron Smotherman is dangerous and he's going to stay game for 15 minutes. You're not going to probably break this guy and just have him pose no threat to you anymore. But Ricky has some of the biggest power at bantamweight. I would say he's proven that at this point, where if he can connect on you with a big hook, big overhand, he's putting you down, he's putting you out potentially, and he's gotten some one-punch knockouts like he did in his last fight. He's dropped guys hard and then submitted them, and he just is a very heavy-handed guy, and he's just someone that, is a ball of muscle. He's coming forward, he's looking to take you down, so he has the threat of feigning the level change, coming over the top of punches to open him up, and he's good at doing that. And he's very durable. I mean, the guy might be a little hittable, but he could take a shot like no other and keep coming forward. And his conditioning is really good. He puts you on your back, and he can really grind you out and control you pretty well. He has a good arm triangle. So Ricky Simón's a high-level guy. I mean, he's lost us some of the cream of the crop. But even if you look at his fight with Mario Batista and Patchy Mix's fight with Mario Batista, who's also known to be a high-level grappler, Ricky Simón dropped Mario. Ricky Simón got a takedown or two on Mario. Patchy wasn't able to do that. So I think Ricky is way higher level than anyone that Cameron Smotherman has ever seen. And he's maybe taken some losses to some of the best guys, but I don't see him taking a loss to Cam Smotherman. I think he could probably finish Smotherman. Smotherman has shown kind of a questionable chin. He's one of these guys that gets hurt and then bounces back really well, but if he gets dropped by Ricky, I could see him get an arm triangle or getting submitted or just getting knocked out. So I'm going to say Ricky Simón's second round finish here, and he claims the victory. And up next here, we got Cody Durden taking on Jose Ochoa. And this is a good fight here. Cody Durden obviously is a longtime veteran in the UFC at this point. He's one of the longer tenured flyweights on the roster. And even though he has been in the UFC forever, like 20 years or something like a Jim Miller, he's had a lot of fights, a lot of experience. And he's bringing that into the octagon on Saturday when he's taking on a guy with only one UFC fight and 0 UFC wins in Jose Ochoa. So it's going to be a major advantage for him with that. And on top of that, he's fighting at home in Atlanta. And I feel like Cody Durden's one of these guys that thrives on the crowd. He's not going to be nervous or anything like that. He's going to be amped up and ready to go because of it, and I think it's going to help him. But having said that, he's still the underdog here against Ochoa, who had a good outing in his debut in a losing effort. He went in there and had a very close fight with Lunar Kavanaugh, who's looked at as a pretty high-level prospect in the division right now. And he has a lot of gifts because he's super tall and long for the weight, which is going to be very helpful. And really, that's what he uses in his fights. He tries to stay long. He'll be bouncing in and out. He pressures you, tries to draw out your offense so he could check hook you or catch you with the 3-2, counter overhand, counter cross. And he is pressuring you, kind of kicking your legs, kicking you with front kicks to the body, trying to stay high volume and force you into making a mistake where you run into a bigger strike. I haven't really seen him throw like a lot of knees yet or dangerous attacks like that. I think he could start to implement that more into his game, especially in this fight versus a wrestler. I think maybe body punches on Durden and throwing knees, uppercuts are going to be potentially something that Ochoa tries to do more of here. And he keeps guys at bay, and then he also has good takedown defense. So when you shoot on him, he's able to sprawl you out. He has good front chokes, long arms. He could snatch the neck. I've seen him get a couple guillotine wins. Cody Durden, this guy, he's had fights like with the Jake Hadley fight, for instance, where he survived some crazy submissions. He's has a lot of heart. It's going to take a lot to submit him, but he's also tapped out in the octagon as well. So if you get Cody Durden tired enough, if you beat him up enough and force him into a bad takedown shot, Ochoa could snatch that neck. But Cody Durden's going to be trying to get on the inside of that length from Ochoa and make it more of a brawl. And Durden has fast hands. He has good power for the weight division. He's explosive, and he's going to have to throw punches and bunches on the inside and then use that to open up the takedowns that Durden has. And Durden has great cardio. He could really push the pace. He can mix it up with the wrestling, with the striking. And he's a little reckless, though. He's getting up there in age, and I just feel like I don't know if he's going to win another UFC fight. I feel like has a reckless style that was predicated on being able to take damage and keep going and push a hard pace. And I feel like at this point in his career, he still is very determined, but his body, he takes strikes not as well as he used to. I feel like the damage wears him down a little bit. And even though he's been fighting, the best of the best, so I think that this could be a buy low spot potentially for Durden. He's 34 years old, I believe, 33, 34. And I just think he could have one foot out the door here. So it could be, one final great performance from Durden, potentially. But I'm going to say Ochoa goes out there, kind of uses his style, uses his length, keeps him at bay, and then either finds a choke or wins a decision in this fight. In this next fight, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this one. Malcolm Wellmaker versus Chris Matinho. Welcome back to the UFC, Chris Matinho, and probably welcome back to the Shadow Realm, buddy, because Malcolm Wellmaker, this guy looks like the real deal. I love the way that he talks. He's humble. He carries himself really well. It seems like he's going to be the type of guy that translates his former day job and being a laborer into MMA and working hard. And a lot of MMA fighters, man, they get by on not doing as much as they could. And I think Wellmaker is going to ever cheat you on effort. He's going to be a true professional athlete. And Chris Matinho, I'm not saying that he's not a super hard worker, because I think for him, obviously he's not blessed with the size, the speed, the power that Malcolm Wellmaker, a lot of these UFC guys has. So he has to probably work very hard in his own right. But I'm just saying, I like the mentality that Malcolm Wellmaker is bringing and the humbleness that he has, because he already has the physical gifts. So if you combine those two together, you can get something really special. And, hey, man, it all came together for him in his UFC debut. Got that crazy knockout win over Cameron Simone, who's also known to be a very durable, come forward, take your best shot to give his shot type of guy. And hey, he couldn't live to tell the tale of taking that big shot from Malcolm Wellmaker. And Wellmaker is just a really long Hagler Hearns type of guy where um, Tommy Hearns, Hagler Hearns, but where he's really trying to just use his long, lanky weapons to catch you, and he has crazy kind of knockout power because of that. And great timing. The guy looks very athletic. He's has had fights where guys have been able to kind of put him against the fence and grind him a bit, and that's going to be Chris Moutinho's only path to victory is Homer Simpsoning his way in, and then kind of using the head pressure, putting him against the cage, kneeing him, maybe eventually taking down Wellmaker, but that's going to be a lot easier said than done. He's going to have to walk through and take a lot of shots, and we've seen him get knocked out at this point twice. Even though they were standing TKOs, he still got stopped, and I think Wellmaker is similar to Sean O'Malley. He might not be as good, obviously, yet, but he has more punching power, in my opinion, and if he lands at a similar clip, I don't think Chris Moutinho is just going to be walking through those shots. So, hey, more power to Chris Moutinho if he's able to come out here and pull one of the biggest upsets in UFC history. But I think that Malcolm Wellmaker probably gets a first-round knockout. And this next fight, this is a hard fight for me. I'm having a hard time predicting this one. Even though I'm kind of still landed firmly on the Chiesa side, I'm kind of smelling a rat a little bit. So let me know what you guys think about this matchup in particular. But Michael Chiesa versus Court McGee, tough champion versus tough champion, two older veterans that have still been looking pretty good. I mean, Court McGee, he just got that quick finish over Tim Means, which Tim Means is never an easy guy to go out there and just dominate like that. And Court McGee submitted him in the first round. Chiesa, he took that layoff, but bounced back with that easy win over Tony Ferguson, and then he got a nice win over Max Griffin in his last fight to kind of reestablish himself as a real top 20, top 15 fighter. And yeah, he's getting, what looks like an easy touch with Court McGee, but matchup-wise, it's a really strange matchup because a lot of people, just right off the bat, they don't really, even at 170, have the frame and size that Chiesa does, but Court McGee, he's known to be one of the strongest guys in the weight division. I think that he's a big guy. He has good frame on him in his own right. And on top of that, both these guys are grapplers primarily, but they're different styles. I mean, Chiesa wants to go in there, use finesse, try to bait you into giving your back, and then submit you with the rear naked choke. He's long and lanky. And then Court McGee, he's the crusher. He wants to take you down. He wants to get really tight with the top pressure on you, grind you out for 15 minutes, work the ground and pound, put you against the cage, and then he has good chokes when he gets into certain positions, even though his last fight was his first finish in a really long time. But it's just on the feet, Chiesa's really awkward. You look at his whole career, like the guy is never absorbed. I think only one fight he's absorbed more than 50 significant strikes. So a lot of the time he's able to not really get hit very much. It seems like whenever he faces adversity, he will kind of dive headfirst into a submission, but he's able to stay awkward on the outside with the southpaw style, kind of dart in, dart out. He's going to be the faster guy here. He throws a lot of kicks, and then when you get close to him, he's going to grab you and try to start manipulating you to the ground or so he could take your back. So it's going to be interesting because on the feet, I think he's going to be moving around and trying to be lower volume. And then with Court McGee, we know this guy's a pressure boxer that wants to be a really high volume body head combination guy, put you against the cage and dirty box you up. So something's got to give here. I mean, is Court McGee going to get the high volume game going, or is Chiesa going to be able to move around him and kind of just dart in, dart out, throw kicks on him? Because I don't think Chiesa's going to be able to grapple this guy. I mean, Court McGee's been in there with Sean Brady, with other good grapplers. Even though he hasn't fought a plethora of wrestler grapplers, he's proven that he's hard to take down, hard to control. And I believe in 21 of his 23 UFC fights, he's had more control time than his opponent. And he's never been controlled for more than 3 minutes in a fight. So Chiesa, I believe that he's only won one decision. All his other wins are submission victories. Court McGee's never been submitted. So if he can't control Court McGee and he can't submit Court McGee, he's going to have to win on the feet. And I do think it's possible, but I think that shrinks the line from being where he's like minus 300 to, a lot more of a closer proposition. So I do think Court McGee is a live underdog in this match, but at the end of the day, I just can't pick him because I think Chiesa probably is a better grappler than most guys that he's fought, and he maybe will be able to get into the back and kind of win around that way. I don't really see him submitting Court, but maybe controlling him for one round or something off of a scramble, even though I do think that's going to be tough. And then on the feet, like I said, I think he's faster, better kicks, and he's longer, so he could make it awkward on the feet for Court and kind of edge him there. So I'm going to lean with Chiesa decision. And interesting fight here. I mean, Paul Craig coming back up to 205 where he did the majority of his damage in the UFC. His last 3 losses were all at 185 pounds. So to save his career, he's trying to move up, get the win, get another contract. And, the guy that's the current champion, he has a win over him. So that's always going to be in the back of Paul Craig's head is some added motivation. And Rodolfo Bellato, he is coming off that draw against Jimmy Crute where really sloppy back and forth fight, but gained him some experience. And he's not the best fighter, but he's someone that you could tell that he tries hard. He has pretty solid conditioning and some power, decent skills everywhere. He has the potential to be good, but I think he's still getting there. He's still really green and not polished. But Paul Craig, I mean, we all know kind of how to beat him at this point. You have to keep it on the feet, outstrike him, not go in his guard where you could give him the chance to submit him. Paul Craig on the feet is really kind of just going to be throwing feeler kicks. He doesn't have a lot of danger, and then he's very hittable. He's slow. But versus Bellato, I mean, I do feel like the striking could be competitive because Bellato, very hittable. He's going to have to close the distance in that range. I think that Craig's going to be active with the kicks. If Bellato gets inside and flurries on him, lands on Craig, you could see him hurt him. But I'm not sold on Bellato, his takedown defense. I think Paul Craig maybe could even double leg him. And if Paul Craig takes down Bellato, he could submit him. And even if Bellato takes down Paul Craig, I think Craig has a chance to obviously get the finish off his back, which is his forte. So I just don't agree with the line here. I think that Paul Craig is very live to get this victory. Bellato hasn't proven anything. He's just a big guy with decent cardio, toughness. He gets dropped and rocked in every fight. I think Craig's going to be motivated here. I think he could potentially get a double leg, like I said, get a takedown and get the submission win, or bait Bellato into jumping on him after rocking him and submitting him. I just think that Craig's going to use that veteran savvy to somehow get it to the mat here and find the victory over a unproven guy like Bellato. It kind of reminds me of the Anthony Smith fight with the man that knocked out Bellato a couple times. Man, what the frick is that guy's name? I can't remember right now. Vitor Petrino. So, yeah, man, it kind of reminds me of that fight. So, yeah, man, give me Paul Craig in this one. Big upset. I'll go with the veteran. And kicking off the main card, we got a big favorite in Omar Sy, minus 700, taking on the veteran Alonzo Menefield. And Omar Sy is kind of like the new big-time prospect for fans at 205, and we'll see if he could reach that potential. But he looks really good on the feet. He is athletic. He moves well. He has a good jab. He fights his rage. He'll start to pick and pull you. He does seem a little bit stiff. Like, I think someone that's a good mover that could be explosive, like an Alonzo, for instance, maybe could fight his chin. I think that leg kicks could potentially be successful versus Omar, but The main thing that Omar's been really good with in his career is early on he's very aggressive at pressuring you, using his presence to back you up. He'll double leg you, take your back, and finish you. And he's been able to get a lot of early finishes with rear naked chokes or grounded pounds and just bully and bulldoze these guys. But you saw his last fight with Dawood Jug. If you have more of a more serviceable wrestler, grappler, they're going to be able to shut down a lot of that from Omar. I think Omar, the guy has great potential, super athletic, he's big. You could tell that he has good basics everywhere, but he's not necessarily the greatest at anything yet. He needs to refine and just keep getting better. But with Alonzo Benefield in this fight, I think he's a live underdog because of the odds. I mean, obviously, I favor C and Alonzo. He's getting up there in age. He's had a lot of bad results lately, and I don't think that he's necessarily in the best position to win this fight. But I do think that he can close the distance well. He has knockout power, and he has good takedown defense. I think we saw that in his last fight with Julius Walker. He defended a lot of takedowns, and I think that he can probably keep this fight standing. If he does get taken down and get his back taken early, maybe he'll get steamrolled. But if he could, show some resistance early, I do think Omar will kind of settle more into a striking battle. And ultimately, I do feel like he'll be able to get his range and start to use the jab and pull Alonzo into bigger shots and maybe even knock him out or probably win a decision, I feel it. But Alonzo could catch him, maybe come over the top with a big shot and rock him. And we haven't really seen someone offensively try to wrestle C. I know C's a really big guy. Maybe Benefield won't go this route, but Benefield has decent offensive wrestling. If he double legs C and puts him on his back, that's something that we don't know, and maybe Benefield could expose him in that area. But I think Omar C, his last fight, he proved his cardio is serviceable enough, and I think he's the bigger, more athletic guy, more well-rounded skills here. He's probably going to be able to get the victory over Benefield, who's a little bit weathered, older. I think that C's athleticism will help him a lot here. So give me Omar C via decision. And like I've been saying, man, this card, just like the last card, it's like a ton of huge favorites, Bellator-type vibes. But Mansur Abdul-Malik, big favorite, taking on Cody Brundage. And Cody Brundage, he's just became the violence guy in the UFC. They throw him in there with another person that has a lot of early finishes, and they know that it's going to produce fireworks one way or the other. And Brundage has gone in there, and he's gotten some big-time upsets. If you just look at it resume for resume, I mean, Brundage has beaten a lot of really good guys, but then you look at his losses and kind of brings you back to reality at the level of fighter he is. And then Abdul-Malik, he hasn't really fought anyone that good, but steamrolling everyone, gotten finishes, looking impressive, trains out a good camp, Extreme Couture, looks like he's smart, fights cerebral, but he's had big gaps in his fights too against low-level guys, like getting rocked and fights getting dropped by jobbers. So Cody Brundage is definitely the most dangerous guy with the most knockout power that he's ever faced. And if Malik, runs into a big shot early, or maybe Cody could jump on a guillotine that he loves and finally actually finish one, we could see Cody get his hand raised. But we know that with Cody Brundage, he's a glass cannon. He's someone, if you start to put the pressure on him and you put him in some bad positions, he does tend to break. He doesn't really have that dog in him. And maybe his last fight with Julian Marquez will finally give him that confidence, because Marquez, former training partner, I think him and Cody were buddies. So it hurt Cody a little bit. It seemed like when he was talking about he's not a dog and all that, and then when he knocked him out, you saw the emotion come out. So maybe that'll give him some confidence, but I still feel like those old tendencies will come back. And with Mansur, he might have some issues where he's gotten rocked at fights, stuff like that, but he's a big athletic guy. He moves well on the feet. He has good kicks. He has fast hand speed. He can get takedowns, nasty ground and pound. So I think he checks all the boxes to be able to beat someone like Cody Brundage, and I'll say he gets a late first round finish here. And in this next fight, we got a good one. We got two vets. We got one veteran that's a former UFC champion, obviously has touched the pinnacle, has had the highest of highs, the most glory you could get, versus another veteran that's been in the game for a while, been in the UFC for a long time, but it's never really gotten that respect, and finally trying to get what he deserves. He got that big win over Peyton Talbot, and now he's looking to beat a former champ and kind of get back into the mix. It seemed like Barcelos, when he had that long win streak, when he was more in his prime, more viable to potentially get into title contention, he never got that chance. And he's still in the game and he's still mixing it up, but I don't know if he could get to that level anymore. But he's trying to stay relevant and just show that he's a very underrated good fighter. And Cody, big time slide since he won the title. Obviously, he's been able to get a couple wins, but been knocked out quite a few times. His last fight, he went in there versus Davison Figueiredo, and he had a good first round. He won the first round, but got taken down in the second, got submitted. And that's been kind of the story with Cody since he dropped the belt. He's done well in a lot of these fights, and then all of a sudden he either gets clipped and starts banging it out and gets knocked out, or like his last fight, he gets taken down and submitted, which was his first submission loss. So it's hard to trust Cody these days. He's had a lot of injuries, tried to bounce up and down weight classes. He had a vertigo issue in his last fight, and I do think, Prime Cody would masterclass Ione, because Ione's a plotter. We saw him when he fought Timur Valiev. He struggled to get going quite a bit. And if Cody moves around and uses that lateral footwork, he's going to be way faster. If he just boxes and tags him up, it stays sharp, stays smart, doesn't overextend, doesn't get wild. Maybe Cody could find the chin eventually and knock Ione out, who's also a little chinny, or win over 15 minutes. But I just don't have the faith that Cody's going to do that, and I don't have the faith that Cody's durability. Ione is going to stay on him. He's going to keep the pressure, even though I think Cody's going to have probably success early. He might win the first round. I think Ione, when he finds Cody's chin, he's going to be able to hurt him and either drop and club and sub him or knock him out. And I think Ione is going to get a second or third round finish in this fight. I just don't trust Cody. I think at some point he's going to slip on a banana peel again, and I think that Ione's going to capitalize and finish him. So Ione Barcelos is the prediction for me inside the distance. And the next fight on the card, we got Edmen Shahbazyan taking on Andre Petroski, and I feel like this is a pretty binary fight. Two guys that go in there, they have very obvious skill sets. Edmen Shahbazyan, even though he can wrestle a little bit and he's a big, strong guy, he wants to keep it on the feet. He wants to batter you up. He has elite power, great kicks, great hand speed, really explosive, dangerous guy. A lot of early finishes, and if he hurts you, he tends to really go for it and try to take you out. And then if he can't do it, he's going to get finished himself. But if he does, he gets 50 grand. It's a big highlight reel performance of the night type finish, and another win for Edmen. So that's kind of his style. And then you look at Andre Petroski. This guy has, I would say, average at best stand up. I think Edmen is a better grappler than Andre is a striker, but Andre has been able to, stay safe and not get finished in some fights. Obviously, he has some knockout losses, but the majority of the time he's gone in the UFC cage, he's gotten the victory. But he wants to get the fight to the ground. He wants to get into a dominant position, wear you down, and then submit you, or just grind you for 15 minutes and get the victory in that manner. And I just think Edmen is going to go out there. I think that we've seen Andre struggle with body kicks. I think that Edmen is going to really blast him with body kicks. I think he's going to go to work early and be really aggressive. And like I said, if you can't get the finish and Andre ends up surviving and getting on top of him, Edmen's probably going to break and you're going to see Andre get his hand raised. But I personally think that Andre is a little bit of a glass cannon himself. And I think Edmen is the type of guy that can go and blitz Andre Petroski, knock him out, get him out of there. So I'm going to say Edmen Shahbazyan I don't think it's going to be as fast as Michelle Pereira, but I think he's going to beat him first round finish with kicks, kind of similar type of fight where he steamrolls him a little bit. So give me Edmund Shabazian, first round finish. And up next year, we got a fight between two fighters that have been training a lot together recently, but there's always been little rumblings that the UFC wanted to match them up, and finally it's coming to fruition here with Rose Namajunas, former two-time 115-pound strawweight champion, taking on Miranda Maverick here. And this is the kryptonite style for Rose. I mean, if you look at her career, a lot of the times when she's lost fights, Erin Blanchfield, Carla Esparza a couple times, it's been against these strong, shorter, compact girls that are able to, I guess Erin isn't short, but Miranda, Jessica Andrade, obviously Carla, and they're able to kind of get inside on Rose or mute her offense because they know that, or Rose knows that they're going to be trying to get inside and grab her the whole time. And Miranda, if she's had success controlling Rose in the gym and kind of has the beat on her movements and how she likes to strike and some of her tricks, maybe she will be able to really mitigate a lot of Rose's offense. And I think we're going to see that early if that is the case. If maybe Miranda got the better of Rose in the training room with control, we'll see Rose be really timid. But I'm not super impressed with Miranda. Even though she's on this big win streak, she's been doing well. A lot of times when she's been getting chances to show her skills against higher level opponents, the opponents have pulled out, and that's not her fault, but she's gotten replacement fights against lower level girls, and she hasn't really dominated the fights how I like to see. She's had moments where she wasn't looking the greatest, and I feel like on the feet, Rose is obviously going to have a significant advantage. She is one of the slickest female strikers, great jab, great footwork, boxing on point, good combinations, and she'll get confidence to let her hands go. And then obviously she has really nice kicks, good head kick. And she's just going to be way faster, more fluid, more powerful as well. And even though Rose had fights where she's gotten controlled, she's also had fights where she showed her improved wrestling skills and her ability to use her jiu-jitsu to get out of bad positions. And I think she could do that here. I mean, if she can go out there and out-grapple like Amanda Hebos, if she can have success, if that fight with Erin Blanchfield was 3 rounds, Rose would have got her hand raised with someone of that level, I think she could beat Miranda. And I think she could even take down Miranda. So give me Rose Namajunas here. I think that she seems confident and sharp and focused as well this week. That's one thing with Rose, it's hard to know, I mean, how invested she is anymore. Miranda's very hungry, so that's one edge I would say goes to Miranda. But for me, I'm going to say Rose Namajunas goes out there, defends her position, and gets a victory. And main event time, we got Kamaru Usman, the former champion, making his long-awaited return. He hasn't fought in well over a year. I think it was October of 2023 the last time he fought. We saw him over there in Fight Island against Khamzat Chimaev, and obviously he took the L and he has 3 losses in a row, but known as one of the best champions in the history of the welterweight division. The last fight with Chimaev was up at middleweight. He's coming back down, and he's welcoming a young, hungry, rising star in Joaquin Buckley that's doing everything right. He's in the cage, dominating fights, mixing it up, showing good fight IQ, getting some nice finishes. Obviously, it's been a while, but he has one of the best knockouts in the history of the UFC. And he also is good at talking on the mic and making a name for himself in that way, building fights. So if he can win this fight, the world's going to open up for him. I know he's out there talking about how Islam is not going to steal his spot and all that stuff, which I think is, even he probably doesn't believe it, but he's going to get a big-time fight, another big-time fight. Obviously, this is a main event against a former champ. You can't get much bigger, but he's probably going to get maybe Ian Gary if he wins this fight. So, huge fight for Buckley. I think this would put him one fight away from the belt. And for Usman, I mean, a win here I don't think he would deserve a title shot, but it could even leapfrog him into a title shot. So pivotal fight for both guys. And in front of a live crowd, I think it's going to be pretty awesome. And when you look at the matchup, man, I've been really going back and forth. If this fight didn't have the odds that it had, I was just looking at it in a vacuum, how both these guys are in their career, the trajectory and momentum where they're at. I would just pick Buckley, especially if it was like a pick 'em. But the odds throw me off. They make it kind of a lot more enticing to go with Usman, and I think there's a lot of avenues he can win. It's just going to be outside factors in terms of how he's going to look. Is age going to catch up to him for one? And then for two, what are his motivations to come back? But ultimately, I don't think Kamaru Usman's one of these guys that's just coming back for a paycheck here. I feel like he's been in a ton of title fights. He has stuff going on outside the cage. And he's made some good money more than likely. So I think that he really feels he can come in here and make another run. And he looks in fantastic shape. That's one thing that I was a little bit worried about, because I don't like guys going up and going down, especially when they get a little bit older, and Usman's coming down from 185. And I wasn't like super worried about him making weight, but I wanted to see if he looked like the old Usman physically, and I think he definitely did. And I feel he's going to perform and look good. And he looked way bigger than Buckley, so that's one advantage that he does have. But it's just, I think that he's coming in here and he's going to be motivated and ready to go personally. You look at Buckley, obviously this is his ticket to stardom, so this is a guy that he's probably watched and looked up to for years. And style-wise, I do think it's a different challenge for Kamaru Usman. A lot of guys that Usman's fought, in the last, even in his entire title run, were older guys that weren't really that dynamic, that great of movers. They were people that came at you and kind of wanted to fight you in boxing range, were willing to wrestle you. And with Buckley, he's getting a guy that's going to be moving a lot more laterally, that's going to be throwing more kicks. And obviously, we've seen him have some issues with kicks in the fight with Leon Edwards, even in other fights. Chimaev even was able to throw some head kicks up there and get kind of close. But I don't think Buckley, I think his power in his hands is overrated. I know he's gotten a couple of knockouts with the punches, but he's going to have to rely really heavily on movement and kicks in this fight, which, like I said, it's something that we haven't seen Usman have to deal with too much. But I don't know if Buckley could kick and move for 5 rounds, because you even saw in the Colby fight, I don't think Colby came in the best shape, and he wasn't sharp. He didn't look good. He was even able to get like almost 4 minutes of control time. He got a lot of control time in the second round, and then he got some control time in the third, and he wasn't doing anything with it. It was more just holding Buckley down. But if Usman can put him against the cage, put him on his back, and start to have success riding him, we don't exactly know how Buckley's going to look in round 4, round 5. Is he going to be able to keep that same pace and movement and footwork and be bouncing around and throwing kicks and staying explosive? Because if he isn't and they're just in boxing range, I feel like Usman has the better hands. His jab is obviously his trademark, and then I think he has more punching power. He's a little sharper, and he's going to be the guy going forward. But it's just going to be if he's stuck in the mud and Buckley can move around him and touch him up, or he lands a big kick on Usman and puts him out. But I think that Usman more than likely isn't going to get KO'd in this fight. I think Buckley's knockout power is a little overrated, his knockout ability. And he's won a lot of these fights with wrestling as well recently, and he's able to take rest by laying on top of guys. I also think that cut played a big factor in the Colby fight. We don't know how it would have went if that cut didn't happen really early on. Maybe Colby could have built more momentum. But I'm going to go with the former champ Usman here. I think that the odds are good. I think he looks motivated. He looks ready to go. And if we see a good performance from Usman, I think he's going to win because I think he's going to be able to avoid all the big knockout threats early. He has to stay safe and be sharp, obviously, but stay with the nice pressure, methodically back up Buckley, try to intercept him with some punches and get his attention. And then when you can put him on the cage, show him your strength, show him who's the boss in that realm, and hold him against the fence, put him on his back, and just do what Kamaru Usman used to do in his prime. And if he could do that, I think he could squeak this one out and get this win. I don't know about him against the upper echelon of the division. I do think Buckley is kind of one of the lesser guys in the top 5, top 10. But, yeah, I'm going to lean with Usman to come back and get the W in this fight via decision. So there you have it, guys. It's a full card breakdown and predictions video for UFC Fight Night Usman versus Buckley, UFC Atlanta. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. Go to patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru right now. The link is in the description. You can get a free trial if you want to get access and check it out, and you'll get the ability to see bets for all different promotions throughout the world. I have an LFA bet going on tonight. I'm going to be more than likely adding some bets on some of these promotions that are going to be having shows tomorrow with Aries FC, Octagon. I believe KSW has a show, so there's going to be some MMA to bet on tomorrow as well outside the UFC, and then you also can get access to UFC bets and UFC predictions and breakdowns early. So go get the free trial over there. The link is going to be in the description, and you'll get access to all that as long as supporting the channel, and as well as supporting the channel, and hit the like button on this video. Let's try to get 100 likes. Let's try to get some comments. I apologize for putting this video out late. I will try to put it out earlier next week, the UFC breakdown predictions video. But as far as my play of the week for this card, I'm going to go with Ange Loosa as the play of the week. So Ange is going to be the play. And for my most confident pick, I know he's a gigantic favorite, but I'm going to say Malcolm Wellmaker. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back soon breaking down another fight prediction or another fight card. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.